Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Thank you to all of our United States veterans. Thank you. And God bless America. Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a Patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance on Veterans Day. Good morning. Oh, thank you very much. A very patriotic lady. And that, of course, was Kate Smith. And God bless America on this 2015 Veterans Day. Good morning, everybody. I'm Zeb Bell at Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you. And thank you for all you do. Along with some of our great advertisers, including Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today. Call 734-6969. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have a Patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I want to say something to you, my dear friend. This is George Mass on the line. And, George, I absolutely have cherished the friendship with you and your lovely wife over the years. And the article about you in the paper this morning just led me to absolutely be so proud that I know you and of your service to America. And I say to you, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Also, if I may, I would like to have everybody say a special prayer for our comrades in harm's way today and those that need medical help.
George, you know you're so appreciated.
If you would not leave the road for us in your advertisement and your radio.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
We're grateful to you and your wife.
Thank you, George. God bless you both. And this Veterans Day, that means an awful lot. Thank you, George. God bless you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
You know, I want to skip to something in just a moment about the newspaper and Veterans Day. And you're going to be a little surprised probably about my comments. But right now it's time for the weather forecast, and the weather brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. They've got all your carpet and flooring, kitchen construction, home decor items, whatever you need to make your house a home. I mean, this is We Can Do It Wednesdays, and you can just kind of sit there and look at your house and think of different projects. You can do it with the help of Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. And now here is the weather.
Here's a look at your weather for today on this Wednesday, Veterans Day. Mostly sunny. Going to be windy, though, out of the southwest, right around 18 miles an hour. Expect a high of 43 for today. Tonight, low of 29. Tomorrow, partly cloudy. The winds will be dying down. High of 45 with an overnight low of 23. For Friday, mostly sunny and 50. And Saturday, mostly sunny and 53. That's your weather for this Veterans Day on Zeb at the Ranch.
Very well done, Gina. Thank you very much. I'm brought to everybody by Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. I want to get a couple of words in here, and then I want to start down our list of things that I've got to get on the air here this morning on this Veterans Day. I also want to acknowledge, and I want to get this on first and foremost, that there will be a free breakfast to veterans that come into Denny's restaurant this morning, and up until noon today with a valid military ID, and you can build your own Grand Slam breakfast. I'll tell you what, it's delicious, and that's going to be at Denny's restaurant, 611 Overland in Burley, and they are such nice people. Thomas and Terry and the whole crew, breakfast, lunch, dinner, 611 Overland in Burley, the home of Zeb's Lunch Punch. And they also have another location at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Denny's Restaurant. You're going to love the food. And by the way, also, our thank yous go out to Ramsey Heating and Electric. And, I want to back up a couple of months, back into September when we had Patriots Day. These folks are really red, white, and blue. They are patriots over at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. They open the doors at 7:30 in the morning till 5 Monday through Friday. All your heating, all your electrical needs, and don't forget, too, all your furnace filters to keep your furnace running smooth, efficient, and make you comfy. And they always provide warm winters and cool summers at Ramsey Heating and Electric on Overland in Burley. Okay, I want to get this in, and I mean this. Veterans Day. God bless our veterans. And I mean that, all the men and women in all the branches of service, the United States Army, the United States Navy, the United States Air Force, the United States Marines, and the United States Coast Guard. Thank you for your service, and I absolutely mean that from my heart. Thank you for your service to this country. I personally, and this is a note from me, I am able to do what I do because of your abilities and capabilities to keep us free and keep us safe. God bless you all. And I want to say this, and you are probably going to be surprised about this, but it's the truth. Kudos, and I mean kudos, congratulations to the Times News newspaper for their Veterans Day salute. Nobody is probably more critical of the Times News than I am. But when somebody does something right, and somebody does something nice, and somebody does something to honor our troops and our veterans like they did in the paper today, that means a lot, and I say nicely done to the Times News. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. It is your turn. By the way, also on Tuesdays, you know, of course, that we have a segment at 10:06 on Tuesdays. Now, what did he say the other day? I think Dr. History said we're being listened to in 110 different countries. Not counties, countries. And there's like over 450,000 hits of people that are trying to listen to the past program. Well, that's brought to you by Minnecasia Sales. My goodness, they can sell anything all over the world. Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley. With Zach and the entire crew over there, all your lumber, all your shingles, all your windows with the Western Windows to save on your heating bills. They've got all your Tartar Farm and Ranch gates and panels. Oh, yeah, cows came home. You better hold them in. They've got everything over there at Minnecasia Sales. Open 8 to 4:30 Monday through Friday at 1321 East Main Street in Burley, bringing you Dr. History on Tuesdays. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. When I make a mistake, I think I'm big enough to issue an apology. And I made a huge, forgetful mistake. Yeah, I know you're all crowding into your radios to listen to me say I'm sorry. Well, I am extremely sorry, and I mean that, to a friend of this program that has done so much to support me and support my family and be so nice to the Lunch Bunch, and that's Jerry Voss. Monday night was the Hometown Hero banquet, and the new recipient of that award was going to be up in front of everybody getting the applause necessary and deserved. I did not make it over to the Hometown Hero Monday night. I'm not making any excuses. I had an afternoon non-scheduled doctor's appointment, and by the time I got home, I did not make it. And I've had people say, where were you? And all I can say is to Jerry Voss, his lovely wife, and all the people connected with the Hometown Hero, I am sorry. And I don't think there's anybody that stands head and shoulders above Jerry for what he does for the community. He's always there helping and always there doing something for somebody. And I am sorry I missed that Hometown Hero on Monday night. Jerry, my sincere apologies to you. And I meant to mention this yesterday, and with everything that was going on, I did not get it in, and I apologize. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. This program cannot be successful. Any program like this cannot be successful without the audience and the listeners. Not only listenership, but also getting involved behind the program with various programs like the Lunch Bunch and various programs like we're doing for the Golden Heritage Senior Center for the Pilgrim Pride Dinner again. I mean, I really appreciate you folks. That's the bottom line. Thank you for all your help on this program. Don't forget Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Oh, my goodness, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. And honestly, they can help you get back to being you with all the exercises, all the sports medicine, and the hydrotherapy pool with that treadmill in the bottom. Man, it's the only one in the area. And all the top-notch physical therapists. They know. These are hometown people taking care of hometown folks. And I'll tell you what, as I said, helping you get back to being you. Call for an appointment today at 678-1191. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Okay? How about some calls on Veterans Day? Please, I'd like to hear from you as we roll on in through some of our stories here this morning. Yes, the GOP debate was on television last night. Yes, it was, in my opinion, not only a good debate, it was a very informative debate, honestly. I thought the moderators, all three of them, did a good job. I thought in one instance that the female moderator, Maria Bartololo, kind of let her politics stand out a little bit, but that was about the only time I noticed it last night. She seemed to have some very favorable and complimentary words to Hillary Clinton that really weren't justified. But I thought Fox Business Network really did a great job. And if you were going to grade them, I'd say they were an A- to a B+. They did an excellent job. However, there were some things that happened last night that, for those of you that were watching, you can chime in whether you agree with me or not. Ohio Governor John Kasich, in many respects and many times last night, he resembled a spoiled, obnoxious kid in a school classroom that everybody wished would just shut up and sit down. And at one point in the debate last night, Kasich actually got booed. And I don't think he helped himself at all. I really don't. I think John Kasich just came on as a kind of a hate-spirited, mean, it's my way tonight, listen to me attitude, and I think it hurt him. I really do. Marco Rubio, in my opinion, emerged as, boy, it's almost hard for me to say this because I'm not sure I'm really supportive of Marco Rubio. I think he was the debate winner. Pardon me. He made remarks that were very poignant last night, And not only the journalists and the press picked up on them, but the general public. He made one remark that I thought was absolutely excellent, and I want to repeat it here this morning because many, many times on this program I have said that I think there's been too much of a major push to get kids into college that are not college qualified. And I said many, many times on this program, you've heard me if you've listened, that we have overlooked the trade schools, and a lot of kids are in college and they shouldn't be there because they're not only wasting their time, they're also wasting their money. And they're wasting their life when they could be doing something productive. Well, Marco Rubio said, quote, "We need more welders than philosophers." And that is oh so true. And then he expanded about how he believes in more people taking part in the trade school educations, and there's a lot of good money out there in those trades. However, as you can expect, some of the liberal left-wing nuts, the loons, some of the so-called philosophers, they were offended by that remark, and they sent emails, "Oh, we're so offended because he ran us." He didn't run you down. He was just making a comparison. We need more welders than philosophers. We need doers. We don't need people just sitting on a chair with their chin under their fist under their chin thinking. We need somebody doing something in this country. I think he was spot on. Carly Fiorina, she really zapped Trump. You know, she has got a razor-sharp wit to her, and she is, you can see the wheels turning all the time, and there definitely is a light on upstairs, and somebody is home. Carly Fiorina really zapped Trump with a remark about he and Putin. I thought that was an excellent remark. However, even though she was very poignant, very straightforward, and had some good answers, I don't know as if she really moved up the totem pole last night. The man that I thought came in number 2 to Rubio last night, and again, your thoughts are welcome, who was very smooth, very direct, and possibly even more knowledgeable about the subject and the questions than Rubio, was Ted Cruz. I don't think he hurt himself at all. He really raised the value of his real estate, I think, with donors and sponsors, and I thought he did an excellent job. But then we go to the end of the line, and it was Rand Paul. Well, he's Rand Paul, and I just don't think he's going to go anywhere. He's kind of like the guy that, I'm going to jab you with a sharp stick and see what your response is, and then I'm going to jab you again. I just don't think Rand Paul is going anywhere, and I honestly anticipate that unless the polls prove me wrong this morning, that Rand Paul is about ready to pack his suitcase and say, okay, I'm done, I'm out of here, I'm going back to Kentucky. Now, to Jeb Bush. He had to be better last night. Was he? Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, just a tad. I don't see the spark. Everybody said in the paper, oh, why, Jeb just came out and he was full of vim, vigor, and vitality. I didn't see that. And I honestly think if his numbers bump up in the poll standings any more than 1 or 2%, I am going to be very, very shocked. That leads us to the last two that were up on the stage in the big boys part of the debate last night, and that was Carson and Trump. They were good, but not outstanding. And I want to hear your opinion on this. Give me a call, because I honestly don't think. Here's where I want your thoughts. I think Donald Trump has got to do a lot more to engage himself in more explanatory verbiage. He's got to use more words. He's got to use more phrases. He's got to be more in-depth, and I don't think he's reached that point. And as far as Ben Carson is concerned, too subtle. I would love Ben Carson to, when he really gets wrapped up in a subject, I'd like to see him make a fist and kind of pound that podium and get his points made, and his delivery just a little bit crisper and a little bit sharper. Like I said, Carson and Trump good, but not outstanding. Did they hurt themselves? I don't think so. But I think the ones that help themselves are Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz. All right, now it's your turn. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to take this moment real quick before I start taking some of your calls. Come on. Get on the phone. Don't make me lonesome this morning. Mount Harrison Audiology with Dr. Christine Pickup, and the number to call for an appointment is 312-0957. They're located right across from the Minidoka Hospital Emergency Room, and believe me, this might be one of the best calls you ever made in your life. If you're having trouble hearing things around you or people when they talk to you, you had better go in for a hearing screening today. It's not painful, no. As a matter of fact, it's kind of have fun. I enjoyed it. And they can really help you over there, regardless. Maybe you've got a problem with some of your medications. Maybe you've got a health problem that's affecting your hearing. Well, they can find out about it and help you at Mount Harrison Audiology. Call them today, 312-0957. Caller, I'll be right there. Don't go away. I also want to remind everybody about Sophie's Chatterbox at 436-0354 telephone number and located at 530 East Street in Rupert. And Sophie's wants me to remind you to get your Thanksgiving orders in now for all the rolls. Oh, they make delicious rolls. Cookies, pies, whatever. Do it now. Call them at 436-0354. They're located on the square in Rupert, Sophie's Chatterbox. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning. How are you doing today?
I am not too bad, sir, and I'm thankful for your call because you're always very astute in your studies of politics. What did you think?
Well, I thought it was a pretty good program, but I keep having aha moments with Miss Carly because our family had personal experience with her. I have a nephew, my brother's son, who started with Hewlett-Packard in 1984 in Los Angeles. Then they had their big split up, so he had a choice to quit or to move, so he relocated to Colorado Springs and went there. And by the way, he's still with them. But after he had a mortgage and two young daughters and going quite well, Carly comes in and becomes an executive with the Hewlett-Packard company and then stirs it all up, and then he has another choice to either split or go or stay and move on. So he had to take a $3,000 cut in his monthly salary, and this is the truth. I'm not stretching it. And she gets this, $1 million package to leave. Before she even started practically. And when I say $1 million, that's benefits, health packages, all these little perks along the way. It scatters that company to death and leaves these guys, some hanging, and many of them now 50 years of age, wondering where they're going to go if this happens again, but she's no longer there. But he took a $3,000 a month cut to have a job, and that's because of her, and then she leaves anyway.
Let me ask you, Gary, and you're an honest man. You've always been an honest person since I've known you. But with this problem with your relative and the job and the her leaving the company, etc., is that really a problem that's going to follow her like excess baggage to possibly being the President of the United States?
No, because nobody's talking about it.
No, but I mean, is what she did at Hewlett-Packard negativity enough not to want to vote for her to be the United States President?
I don't think so, not unless the people, unless it becomes a subject, or a topic.
Yeah.
Unlike Donald Trump, he got his money the way he got it, but she got hers another way.
Right.
And she's sharp, and she's slick, and she's good. And I don't doubt that she's got some integrity in there, that all these people, one way or another. But, each one has their way of doing what they do.
Well,
So I don't know if it's going to hurt her or not. I know that Donald Trump, if he doesn't stop acting like a bully, it's going to hurt him. Because, as you said a minute ago, he's got to come up with some better words.
Okay, now let's stop right there.
In fact, I like the idea that he's not beholden to anybody, but he's alienating a lot of people by, talking about
Well, let me ask you this, and Wheels, if there's any way to turn Gary up my headsets, I'm having a terrible time hearing him. Gary, let me ask you this, and caller number 2, don't go away, I'll be right there. Do you think when I said that he needs to figure out better words and better phrases because what he's using is very limited and almost like a pugnacious attitude, I think somebody better sit down with him in his camp as soon as possible, today instead of tomorrow, and tell him a little bit more about how he needs to use the English language. There's a lot of words out there, but he's not using them.
Well, I got to give that guy credit, because if you've ever listened to his sons and his daughter talk about well-spoken and very educated and intelligent young people, maybe he should sit down at dinner table with them and discuss it.
I like that. Gary, you are always welcome on this program. Thank you so much.
Hey, have a good day.
God bless you, man. Caller, I'm going to be right there. Don't you go away. I got to get this in. Barry Equipment and Rental, 3 locations serving you. Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, South Lincoln in Jerome, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. They do have, at all 3 locations, all the equipment you need to get the job done right. That's not brag, that's a fact. And the store hours are Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 5:30, Saturday 8 to 5. The Doosan loaders, the Bobcat skid steer loaders, the great big tractors by Coyote. I mean, they got them all. They got them all. They've got everything you need, as I said, to get the job done right, as I almost choked to death. You stop in or give them a call today at Barry Equipment and Rental, Twin Falls, Jerome, and right there on Highway 30 at 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Really good folks serving you. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. You know, your last caller, Gary, I sympathize with people who didn't get what they felt like they deserved. But in defense of Carly, I would like to say she fought and everything to get to where she was. And they're the ones that give her the package. Mm-hmm. You know, they're the one that promised her all of these things. She was just lucky enough to get all these things. And it's too bad some of the other people have to suffer. But I've talked to several people who had worked for Hewlett Packard, and they're feeling her the same way that Gary's were. You know, they felt like she, you know, it's just like your neighbor getting a raise and you don't.
Yeah.
You know, it's just not a equitable situation. I think she got what she deserved because she fought for it and everything, and I'd just like to know your opinion on it.
Well, I agree with you, and I'm going to say something here that a lot of the women in the audience might think, oh, well, you don't think she's qualified. No, wait a minute. Back up the bus for a minute. I am going to say that after what I saw and what I've heard, I would say that Carly Fiorina, if I were the president-elect of the United States, I would call her on the phone immediately after I put my hand on the Bible, and I would say, would you please be my Secretary of State? I have a lot of respect for that woman and the way she meets and takes on problems head on.
Okay. Sounds like a good answer to me.
All right, my friend. God bless you, man. Thanks so much.
You bet. Bye-bye.
Caller, I'll be right there. Stand by, please. Lennox and Ramsey's. That's right, Renix. Well, there's a mistake. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox with an L, offering rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems. Whether it's a gas furnace, an air conditioner, or a heat pump, you and your family will enjoy the comfort. All you have to do is call Ramsey Heating and Electric at 678-0459. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox, saving you money. Caller, good morning. Thank you for being on the air.
Good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
On behalf of the Golden Heritage Senior Center, I'd like to extend an offer for a free dinner for any veteran today. It just consists of turkey and dressing and mashed taters and gravy, green beans, cranberry sauce, and yummy dessert. Now, I heard a rumor that might be homemade pumpkin pie, but I don't know.
Oh, my. Well, Joe, that is nice. What do they have to do? Just show up over there at noon at the Golden Heritage?
Just show show up at about 12 o'clock.
All right, for our veterans. And that is so nice of you. And I can tell you something, Joe. Every single time I go in there, I find you eating. What is with that?
I like Debbie's cooking.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's good. And Debbie's great, and Connie can bake those cakes and everything. It's fantastic.
That's the first thing I start worrying about when I get to work at 9 o'clock is what are we going to have for lunch.
Well, Joe, God bless you, and thank you for the invite to our veterans to go over and enjoy lunch, a really good lunch at the Golden Heritage. Joe, thank you for calling.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too, my friend. That man right there, I have so much respect for, Joe Taylor. It's an honor for me to know him, and just a super nice guy. Thank you, Joe. That was really nice. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, good morning, Zeb. You know, you look at the array of candidates in the Republican Party, and then you mentally think about the candidates that are running in the Democratic Party. Any one of them is an American, and I'm not so sure about the Democrat people and where they stand. You know, it's really sad. But your comments about Carly Fiorina is right on. Nobody gives her a chance of being president, but I can guarantee you she's a sharp lady.
Well, okay, let me ask you a question here. If you were the presidential selection and you were going to be the new president of the United States of America, how could you possibly overlook some of the great talent that was standing up at the podiums with you during the presidential debates? I see many cabinet heads there that would absolutely be heads and shoulders above anything that we've got now.
Yeah, I was going to say, you could take that whole array of candidates and the background that they have, what a cabinet that would be. Absolutely, I totally agree with you. I think there was a comment earlier about somebody commenting about English, or languages and so forth. A lot of those candidates can speak more than one language, and but I just found out, there was an email sent to me, and I think I forwarded over to you, and I checked out the number. But, in Michigan now, there's so many Muslims that if you punch 3 when you go through the numbers, you don't hear it. They don't advertise it. But you punch 3, you get Arabic.
Oh, my.
And so, folks, wake up. These people are all, these so-called refugees, migrants, they're all on welfare, 91% of them, and the cost is exorbitant. It's unbelievable. It's 10 times what the UN says it's going to cost. And, of course, their numbers are just, to make it sound good.
Yeah, Adrian, let me ask you this.
Wake up, and these people do not want to assimilate.
That's right.
Any president that we have, right now, getting back to the Democrats, all they really want is more votes.
Yeah.
That's all they care about.
That's what they're buying right now is votes. With this absolutely porous border system, with the refugees coming in, they're looking at a gratuity back to them in the form of votes. Adrian, I appreciate your call, and hang tough, and I do appreciate your emails, by the way. I haven't thanked you enough for that. Thank you for all you do. I got to get another commercial in before a weather forecast. Thank you so much.
Well, anyway, you're certainly welcome. And people, we better wake up and stop this refugees coming in the valley, because there's going to be terrorists among them, whether we like it or not. And I can guarantee you, unless we put the heat on our elected people, and most of them just put their head in the sand,
yes,
and want to ignore the problem.
Yes.
And because it's all about the big money that's coming in, these refugees are, what we're paying is unbelievable, and if we really knew the cost, people would be up in arms and marching in the street.
I agree. Thank you very much for your call this morning. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Bye now.
I want to say thank you to the Minidoka Memorial Hospital. It's been, a month, maybe a month and a half they've been on my program. They called us and asked us if they could be on the program, and that meant a lot to me. Very nice man by the name of Joel Rogers, and I thank him so much. Minidoka Memorial Hospital at 1224 8th Street in Rupert, and it's true. Your health is so important. You need to work with the best that really care. And that is all the folks over there at Minidoka Memorial Hospital. The purpose of Minidoka Memorial Hospital is to provide and promote high-quality, compassionate primary care health services and health education to the residents and visitors to the Mini-Cassia region. And they have some outstanding folks. And we have interviews with them on Mondays and Thursdays on this program. So I say thank you to the Minidoka Memorial Hospital at 1224 8th Street in Rupert. Number to call for general information, 436-0481. Thank you very much. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. This is a question, and believe me, if you're a Democrat, God help you, or a liberal, you're beyond help. But if call and give me your thoughts on this. How, really, can you look at Hillary Clinton and not see another 4 years of exasperating times and financial hardship, the same as the Obama doctrine? You don't have to be a rocket scientist. You don't have to be a straight-A student to figure out that this woman is absolutely going to take us down the path of more spending, more taxation, and I'm so afraid of what she will do with climate change. I'm telling it like it is right there. I don't trust her. I don't like her. And I certainly cannot respect her. And then you look at some of the very sharp people that are on the other side that were standing up at the podiums last night. Now, I don't know who's going to get the nomination. I don't know who really I'm going to support yet. I haven't made up my mind. But I looked at Marco Rubio, and I see a guy that's got fire in his eyes. I looked at Ted Cruz, a very smooth, very direct, and very deep thinker to answers of any and all questions. I like him. I look at Ben Carson, another deep thinker, but I think he's got to elevate his game. He's got to be a little bit more outgoing, and he's got to be a little bit more direct. And then I look at Donald Trump. I can't cuss Donald Trump. He is a very, if not one of the, possibly the most successful businessman that's ever been in this country. But he needs to take some of the rough edges off. He needs to increase his words of wisdom when he's explaining a thought. So I don't know. But there were some really good people up at the podiums last night. And on the smaller scale debate last night, I think kudos also should go to Chris Christie. I don't personally like Chris Christie. I don't personally think all was true about the freeway gate that he had in New Jersey with the road closures that one time. I think there was a little covering up. But you know what? He is even heads and shoulders above Hillary. And I look at Mike Huckabee. I like Mike Huckabee. There's a guy you could sit on the back porch with, and you could talk about the geese flying south, or you could talk about anything. He's just a good old common boy and very knowledgeable. So my point is, the Democrats are putting all their eggs in the basket marked Hillary. And believe me, a lot of those eggs are not only rotten, but they're cracked. And on the other side with the Republicans, we've got some sharp talent out there. Very sharp and educated and knowledgeable talent. And I just hope and pray that the voting public in the United States of America is smart enough to vote for one of those men to become the president. We're going to take the weather forecast right now, and the weather brought to you by Mad River Laser, 502 East Street in Rupert. I have got to call her today. I meant to do that yesterday, and then sometimes my mind gets like over in the desert sands of Egypt or something. I forget where I am. But they've got all the capability of making all your promotional business products and all the year-end awards for your business. And, of course, they've got a great gift shop over there with a lot of home decor items. you got to get in there. I mean, these people are so nice, and what they do, fantastic. At Mad River Laser, 502 East Street in Rupert. And now here is the weather.
Here's a look at your weather for today on this Wednesday, Veterans Day. Mostly sunny. Going to be windy, though, out of the southwest, right around 18 miles an hour. Expect a high of 43 for today. Tonight, low of 29. Tomorrow, partly cloudy. The winds will be dying down. High of 45 with an overnight low of 23. For Friday, mostly sunny and 50. And Saturday, mostly sunny and 53. That's your weather for this Veterans Day on Zeb at the Ranch.
Gina, thank you. I like that patriotic piccolo in the background and everything. That was great, Gina. Thank you. Don't forget, excuse me, the weather brought to you by Mad River Laser. I'm sorry, this time of the year I have a little throat problem every now and then. Mad River Laser at 502 East Street in Rupert. And you stop in and see those good folks today. Come on, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to tell you what we're going to do this morning. 9:06, I've got my dear friend Dave Beagle coming on the air. He wrote an exceptionally great blog about the SEIU and the $15 an hour mob, and I want to talk to him about that. And then at 9:30, we're going to take a little casualness, but yet we're going to be saluting our veterans. Here's what we're going to do at 9:30 this morning, thanks to my dear friend Wheels over at the station along with Gina. We are going to pay tribute to our veterans, and we're going to talk a little bit about Veterans Day. We're going to talk a little bit about its inception and where it is now, and we're going to have some outstanding music to salute our different branches of the service, and it's just going to be kind of a laid-back half hour in salute and tribute to Veterans Day. And then at 10:06 this morning, we're very fortunate on this busy day to have a lovely lady that has served our country. Georgia Greenwell will be on our program for the entirety of the 10:06 to 11 hours. So that's what's coming up for the rest of the morning, okay? Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. A couple of news notes that you should be aware of. Did you see, and it was so repugnant, she is so repugnant, the woman professor at the University of Missouri, supposedly a journalism professor, and she walks up to a student cameraman that worked on behalf of the student media for the University of Missouri. And she basically put her hand on the camera and tried to shove it out of his hand. And she said, "You can't be here." He said, "Yes, I can be. I have every right to be here to cover this for the college." And she said, "No, you don't." And then she tried to slap him up against the head. And then she turned around like a little squealing pup and said, "I need muscle over here. I need muscle to get rid of this guy." And this is America? Where we can't record what's going on for news and we can't record what's going on as an assault to our First Amendment? Well, a little update on her. She's gone. Yeah, I think there was a little arm twisting to get rid of the dear girl. Thank you. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, that deal that was going on in Colorado, that was really something.
No, that wasn't Colorado. It was Missouri.
Oh, I'm sorry. Anyway, yeah, that gal that said you can't do that.
Yeah.
She needs a course in the Constitution.
Yeah, but wait a minute, Doug. You know, why is it that the liberal left, these loons on the left, Democrats, let's call them what they are, and we've got some of them living right here in this area. Some of them want to run for office. They are so rude, and they are so dedicated to being rude, and their platform is absolutely un-American and against what the morality of this country stands for. They get away with it.
They do. They do. Did you ever watch any, I can't remember if it's Star Wars or Star Trek, those series where the one they had the Borg and the Collective?
I guess not.
Everybody at night would go get plugged in and they get fed the information that they needed to know and come out the next day, and that's how they thought and what they said.
You know something, Doug? I guess maybe your TV habits are a little bit different from me and John Wayne and Kit Carson.
But that's the way I see them. They're like the collective, the Borg. Personally, I think there's an email goes out to every Democrat that subscribes to a certain email, and it comes out with the talking points of the day.
Oh, I agree.
Every one of them say the same thing, maybe use a couple words different, but I think that's what's happening, and that's what we're up against. We're up against one person trying to tell everybody what to do.
Okay, let's just nail this down to the bottom of the floor. Okay? Let's assume the worst. Let's assume that Hillary Clinton becomes president, okay? From that point on, the gimmies, the wannabes, and the not going to work for it are going to take complete control of this country. I firmly believe that. You want to tell me I'm wrong?
You're not wrong, because the tail's already wagging the dog when it comes to the things, the universities where that university president stepped down. The tail's wagging the dog already.
Yeah, it wasn't that, and I took a little heat over some remarks I made the other day about that story, evidently, and the people that criticized me left a little note on my cell phone. But I thought the president and the chancellor of the University of Missouri stepping down was nothing more than an act of pure cowardice.
Exactly. Does the students run the universities?
Evidently.
I mean, they go there to learn. They don't go there to dictate policy.
I'll go back to what I said the other day, and I've still got some of my notes here. I made the statement that I think if he was worth his salt in that administrative position, as were both men, as chancellor and president respectively, they should have absolutely called for a meeting with some of these talking heads of this disruptive group and found out what their gripes and you know what else were, sat down and tried to arbitrate and work it out from there. But to capitulate and run away and say, I'm going to quit, that was a coward's way out.
It was. And I'd like to touch on that $15 an hour deal.
Oh, boy.
I own my own business. I pay all my bills. Yes, my shop rate's around $75 an hour. But out of that $75 an hour, I got parts, I got insurance, I got overhead for the building, I've got taxes. All the stuff coming out of that, I'm lucky. I'll bet you figure my hours and my income for the year, I make probably less than $10 an hour.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yep. And you know what? My expenses keep going up, and everybody says, oh, pass it on to Zeb, pass it on to Zeb, pass it on to Zeb, pass it on to Doug. You know what? I'm at a point right now where there ain't going to be any more passing unless it's a piece of turkey on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, because, if you keep cutting the pie thinner and thinner and thinner and pretty quick, you don't have any pie left.
Well, there's going to be a little bit of pie left in the crust for me because, I've reached a point in my life, and I know this sounds really egocentric, but you being in business for yourself like I am, I'm not going to take any more of people telling me, well, we'll pass it on to you, because those days are over, and like at the Alamo, there's a line in the dirt.
There is, and this line, we'll back it up. We won't do like our illustrious president did.
All right, Doug. Thank you so much.
He erase it, and then he draws another one.
All right, buddy. Hey, listen, God bless you, and happy Veterans Day.
Bless you, too. And I'd like to say happy birthday to a very great man, my father.
Oh, my goodness, yes. Is it his birthday today?
Today's his birthday. The story he told me, he says, when I was born, the Germans surrendered.
I got to remember that line. Would you please go over and shake his hand and tell him I said happy birthday?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I like that one. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. The day he was born, the Germans surrendered. They knew he was coming. All right, look out. Hey, don't forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you. And I'll tell you, they got all the different treads designs, the different tread utilizations for different weather conditions, driving conditions. They've got all the tire chains. They've got the studded snow tires. You can rest assured that for what you're going to be doing this winter and where you're going to be driving and how you drive, they've got the tires that are traction ready for you, along with the best in brake service. Oh my, I brag on their brake service because they are good. And of course, you know they've got the best in front end alignment, shocks and struts, and batteries. You don't want to have a surprise going out on a cold winter morning and you're running a few minutes late, turn the key on and it goes boom, 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 boop. That's it. Have your battery checked, and if you need a new one, they've got them right there with Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, John on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. The best. I didn't get exactly where this was happening, but I heard, and it saddens me. It made me mad at first, but it really saddens me now, that a bunch of punks, worthless, no good punks, boys and girls, men and women, were running around this one time. I think it was back someplace. I could be wrong. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I believe it was back either in Chicago or someplace in Pennsylvania. I'm not sure. But they were running around last night, taking down the flags that were up for Veterans Day today and throwing them away. How disgusting. How absolutely pathetic. On a day like today, where the blood, sweat, and tears and the sacrifices from our veterans to keep this country free, we have someone like those young people that absolutely are so rude and so stupid to act in that manner. God bless our veterans. We're going to go to the news from CBS. We'll be back in 6. Don't miss the next hour. Thank you very much. Welcome back on this Veterans Day. Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, and some of our great advertisers, including Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always the Georgia struggle. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at Georgia struggle. Western Waste Services.
I have been very proud and honored to have Western Waste Services be on this program for a long, long time. Kelly and the crew, locally owned and operated, and they do a wonderful job, and it's true. The words, the slogan, they are always at your disposal. Call, get on the route service today, get rid of your garbage. Yes, sirree, Bob. The number to call, 734-6969. Western Waste Services, absolutely the best. You know, I also want to remind you that every morning when we start our program off at 8:06, we have a weather forecast brought to you by some really, really nice people. Cheney Flooring and Home Design at 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. They've got everything for your carpet needs, flooring needs, kitchen construction, home decor items, whatever you need to make your house a home. Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. And we're going to have my dear friend Dave Bego on in just a moment. Stand by. I want to also say thank you. Thank you for all the great work and service they do to the community, and that's Hanson Mortuary. 710 6th Street in Rupert with Joel Heward, the manager, and his staff and his family. They really are there when you need them, and they'll travel to the rural towns and churches, and they've got very flexible hours to serve you when there's the passing of a loved one. Always, and I underline this, with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. Please give them a call. Talk to them about pre-planning funerals. We all should. At 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. Please call them today. Dear friend of this program, and I'll tell you what, this latest blog that he had written regarding the SEIU and the $15 an hour mobsters across the country is one of his best yet. And I want to say good morning on Veterans Day. Dave Bigo, how are you?
Sir?
Yes, sir.
He did call in, and he said that he sent you guys an email.
Yes.
I guess their phone is messing up. He did call in, but I could barely hear him, and he gave me a number, but the number says that it's wrong, so if you could...
Read the number back to me quickly, Damon. What have you got?
I got 239-395-4553 for the secondary.
Okay, that's what I've got. I'll have Deanne get to work on that right away, and we'll check it out. Call it again right now and see if he will answer the phone. Okay, thank you. Well, we're having a little trouble trying to get a hold of Dave, and Deanne, if you'd come in here and take this and try to verify that number, maybe it's written down wrong or whatever. And calls are welcome at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. On this Veterans Day, I would like to hear from you, if you would, please. Let's see, what else have I got here? Oh, I want to get this in quickly. This will give me a little chance to catch up on some of my commercials. And how about a snowplow hooked on to your four-wheeler? You know what? I've had my four-wheeler from Let's Ride. I don't know, what have we had them now? 4 or 5 years. And I wished when I first bought it, I would have bought one of those snowplows. Boy, that winter we had quite a bit of snow. But now's the opportunity. You won't be snowed in again. And they've got really snowplows to fit your four-wheelers. And, of course, they've got all the four-wheelers, so you might as well buy both of them, the four-wheeler and the snowplow. And along with the snowmobiles and all the fun for being outside. This is where the fun is sold. Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. And along with that, they've got a great accessory department and a service department that can fix anything. So remember, Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and Hayburn. Yep, that's where the fun is sold. We're trying to work... Yes, sir, go ahead.
I have Dave Beagle on the phone.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Dave Beagle, I gave you a great big sterling introduction a moment ago, but then you weren't there, so I'll say it again. You wrote an outstanding blog regarding the SEIU and the $15 an hour mobsters. I'd like you to elaborate on it. Boy, this is really getting to be a mess, isn't it?
Well, yes, it is, Zeb, and I found it interesting. You know, they did the majority of their things across the country, you know, the protests across the country yesterday, and I found it interesting they have to do it the day before Veterans Day, so they could help get national exposure. It just tells you what these people are all about.
Well, now, Dave, let's go into this a little bit. I guess my response to this yesterday, after I had a story that was put out in the USA Today a couple of days ago about fast food workers ready for their biggest strike yet, they almost made heroes out of these people. But my question to you is, why can't a franchise, whether it's McDonald's, whether it's Burger King, whether it's Jack in the Box, whatever, hey, fire these people. Close down for 2 days, get a new work crew that wants to work, and say the heck with the other ones.
Well, the problem, Zeb, is on the other side of the fence, President Obama has radically changed the National Labor Relations Board, and they in turn the regulations that if there is any fallout at all, you know, pushback from franchisees or any businesses regarding people trying to organize, and that's what they'll call it, even though they're not saying it on TV. They're saying they're just trying to get them $15 an hour, but behind the scenes they're trying to organize these people, that there'll be all kinds of unfair labor practices filed against businesses across the country. And so they're really putting businesses in a bind is what they're doing.
Well, wait a minute. Explain this to me, Dave. You're the entrepreneur, the businessman. You mean to tell me that an employer that has employees that stand out on the street during their work shift and protesting their job, protesting their wages, he can't fire those people to get somebody reliable?
No. You can... depending on where they're at, you know, if they're on your property and that, yeah, you can discipline them in that, and there is and they say to a degree that, yeah, you may be able to replace them by bringing in temporary workers to replace them and then keep those people. But you need to those protesters, don't need to fire them or shouldn't fire them. What you should do is keep them on your list so that if you have another job come open, you can bring them back. It's a very tenuous situation right now with the National Labor Relations Board and Department of Labor, because Obama is in favor of the unions and he's protecting them. And the other big part of this fight for 15 is not that they're trying to get $15 an hour for these people. In fact, in one of the embedded articles in there, one of the SEIU executives admits that their goal is not necessarily getting these people higher wages, it's unionizing them.
Mm-hmm. You know, Dave, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about this, and it just frustrates me. Quite frankly, it makes me cowboy mad that the employer has very little they can do to protect themselves, their business, and the perpetuity of their business. They're kind of backed into a corner by Obama and his government.
Well, they are, and that's the bad thing. You've got Obama in bed with the unions, and he's doing. They're attacking from two sides, and it's tough on businesses to do it. Now, there are ways that businesses can go about handling, but it's a longer process than just saying, we're going to get rid of you. Like I said, they can bring in temporary and keep those people on, but just to fire them is a tough situation, because what they come back and say is, they have the right to protest and look at organizing, and if you fire them because of that, then you're violating the law.
Okay, now, Dave, nobody has commented on this that I've heard on the major media. I said it the other day, and I'm going to say it again. And my biggest fear with these people and their demands and how far they will go in support of the SEIU or vice versa, I am very afraid about food degradation as far as what they might do, maybe to do something with the food that's served, basically to hurt the general public. Am I wrong in thinking that we can't trust these people?
Well, I think that's possible, but I think they'll probably stay away from that, because, that would set a precedent that would hurt them and, cause more backlash than I think it would probably be worth to them. They like to fight behind the scenes and go after the employers and attack the employers and get them to give in and let them force unionize these people. And it's really sad, because the people are naive about it. These people, and you notice, most of these people are young people, and they know that these people don't have much experience, don't have much knowledge, background, history in that. So they like to go after people who are naive about what the true intents are and what's really going on.
I said the other day that this is lunacy. I am not in favor of $15 an hour minimum wage. I'm not in favor of having some pimply-faced kid come in and flip burgers for his first job automatically at $15 an hour. There's got to be some kind of an escalation. There has to be some way to step up the ladder and better yourself. What are your thoughts?
Well, that's exactly right. I'm sure as you did, I started out when I was young pumping gas at a gas station, which we don't even have those jobs anymore, and doing other jobs like that. And I worked my way up through life, and people need that experience, and they also need the incentive to work their way up to make more money and achieve more things. And but this government doesn't want that, Zev, as I've talked about on the show many, many times. What they want is everybody to be the same, because when everybody's the same and makes about the same money, you're much easier to control.
Absolutely.
We talked about this last week in my blog about the great pretender and what he's trying to do to this country.
And the thing that gets me every single newscast, I don't care if it's on CBS, NBC, ABC, whatever, they all say the same thing. Oh, well, what they're being paid now is not enough to raise a family on. Dave, these are not family wages. These are low-entry jobs into the workforce. Why in the world do they get away with saying these are wage jobs for family raising?
Yeah, because that's what they do, Zeb. They like to throw that rhetoric out there and that misinformation and that. You know, in a lot of cases, these jobs, they're not just initial jobs. In a lot of cases, it's, you know, maybe the husband's got a job and the wife does it for extra income for the family and stuff like that. So, you know, there's a lot of reasons that these jobs are necessary and out there because they supplement what's going on in families and stuff like that. And they are entry-level jobs for young kids so they can start moving up through society.
Okay, but right there is another caveat that I want you to discuss. I honestly don't think that these millennials, these young, wet-nosed kids, 18 years of age, 19, whatever, they have any clue about what they're getting into possibly with joining an SEIU union. They have no idea.
No, they don't, Zeb, and that's what I said before, and that's why the SEIU goes after these people, and that they know to go after the naive people, and you know, they did it when they attacked us. They went out and you know, they talked to our employees in different levels and different facilities and sites, so they could find the people that were easily brainwashed. And those are the ones they started getting to do protests and everything else against us. And they're very good at doing this. They know how to pick these people out pretty quick.
Dave, we have a caller with a question. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air. Quickly, please. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Good morning. Yeah, if they're going to raise, if they want to raise the minimum wage, $15 an hour, then is my wage going to be raised too to meet that? Because if they do that, I'm taking a $15 an hour pay cut, pretty much. You know, every dollar they raise is every dollar I'm losing in the economy.
All right. Well, we'll have Dave respond to that. What about the people that are already working there? They've been with the business for some time. To me, like the caller just said, Dave, this is an escalation of how high is up. It's just going to continue to be a problem on trying to figure out how to give raises to everybody.
Well, that's right. I mean, there will be some increase in wages that for people above them. This happens to go into place. I don't think it will. But, you know, again, it comes back to what I said earlier. They really don't want people making more money to make much more money because they want you to be all very close and be the same. That is the goal. Again, and I know this sounds crazy in that, but it's so simple. It's, you know, we want people to be the same. We want to make about the same amount of money, work about the same rate, you know, and all that. Not a high productivity rate, and that because when people are all about the same, then, you know, there's no jealousy or conflict, and they're much easier to control. And that's what this is all about.
Okay, now you said, you kind of alluded to it a moment ago, you honestly don't think this thing is going to get any traction in the mud and it's going to go away, or what's going to happen? Give us your bottom line.
Well, I think, I don't think it's going to happen. You know, the businesses, you know, the only way that it's going to happen is if the federal government comes out and declares a national minimum wage. And, you know, some states have done that already up in Seattle, and they're paying for it up there. They've had a lot of restaurants and places closed down, and, you know, employees have lost jobs. And the other thing that happens when you do that, of course, restaurants and other employers look at technology. Okay, I can have people come in and they can type their own order in on like an iPad machine, and you know, we'll eliminate the people at the cash register and stuff like that.
Right.
So, you know, they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot when they do this stuff. But again, it isn't about these people making more money. It's about unionizing them. And people have to understand that's the whole goal on this.
All right. Real quick in the time remaining, Dave, did you have a chance to watch the GOP debate last night?
No, I did not. I was traveling and didn't get in and late and did not get a chance to see it. And I've been trying to catch up this morning, but I'm having television problems and other things, so I'm kind of at a loss for the debate last night.
Well, let me give you a real quick kind of a recap. I thought that Ohio Governor John Kasich, I said this first hour, I'll say it again, acted like a spoiled, obnoxious kid. Marco Rubio, in my opinion, and I'm being fair to everybody, I thought emerged as the debate winner last night. I thought Ted Cruz, very smooth and direct, was in second place, close to Rubio. Carly Fiorina, she really zapped Trump a couple of times on remarks about his relationship relationship with Putin. Then we had Rand Paul. He shouldn't be there. And then, of course, Jeb Bush. He had to be better, but Dave, I'm telling you, I don't think he's going to go up any more than maybe 1 percentage point in the polls. And as far as Carson and Trump, they were good, but they were not outstanding like I thought they would be. Your thoughts about that, kind of a quick rundown?
That's kind of interesting. I thought that, I'm not surprised that Rubio and Cruz did a pretty good job. And I kind of like Cruz. He's got a lot of good ideas and stuff like that. Rubio is a little young, and that bothers me a little bit. But, he does have some good ideas. But I thought that Carson and Trump would, come out a little bit stronger than what you're saying, to be honest with you.
And let's talk about Donald Trump for a minute. I know you and I have had our discussions about Trump, and there's a lot of things I really like about his being in the race. But one thing I noticed last night is his verbiage, the way he phrases and answers questions. I think he's got to be more elaborate on some of his speech and some of his words, because it's the same old, and he's got to be more elaborative on what he says and how he answers.
Yeah, and again, I think we've discussed that before. I think he needs to be more polished and, a little more detailed in where he's going with the thing and that. And he tends not to do it because he's gotten to the point in his life where he can say what he wants to say, and he expects people to just understand that and take off with it. But I think he needs to wake up to the fact that this is a whole different arena.
Dave, on the other side of the coin, kudos to you. Kudos to the Indianapolis Colts. Kudos to Andrew Luck. But then the roof caved in after they had that game winner the other night. Holy smokes, now I hear that he's out for maybe 6 more weeks.
Yeah, evidently there was broken ribs that nobody wanted to talk about. Actually did some damage internally, and that, and again, I got in late, so I haven't had a chance to read up and see all that, but it's scary.
Well, I tell you what, this is Veterans Day, and I know you probably would like the opportunity to thank our veterans for all they've done for this great country and our value system, and I'm going to let you kind of give us your thoughts about Veterans Day 2015.
Well, I think all America needs to take a step back and bow their heads and say a prayer for our veterans and that, because they're the ones that have protected this country and allowed this country to become a great country. And, all the riots like we had yesterday on the Fight for 15 and all the other stuff that's going on in this country with racial divide and all those things that I talked about in my blog last week, The Great Pretender. I think America needs to step back and understand that, America is a land of opportunity for everybody based on their own skills and work ethic and their perseverance and all that. And that is due to the fact that we've had these great people go over and defend our country against people in the rest of the world that don't understand the opportunity that America brings. So I say God bless them.
Amen. My dear friend, by the way, you're not in Indiana this morning. What part of the compass are you in this morning?
I'm down in Florida.
Oh, my goodness. Go ahead, tell us, what is the weather like in Florida?
Well, sunny skies and about 81 degrees.
Thank you very much for being on the program the last time. I appreciate you. Dave Bigo, a dear friend. God bless you, man. Enjoy it. Have a safe trip back home, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right. Well, you enjoy your cold and snow.
I will, David. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. One of the guys that I absolutely admire, and I'm very appreciative that he's on my show, and that's Mr. Dave Bigo, and a great author, and writes a great blog, and I just have nothing but good things to say about him. Just a super nice guy. Of Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. By the way, when you think about life insurance, and you think about health insurance, and retirement planning and employee benefits, whether it's for you, your family, your business, you want to work with the professionals that really know what they're doing. And that's, of course, Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. I got to call Todd right after the program, as a matter of fact. The number to call for an appointment is 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. They are very devoted to serving you, and give them a call for an appointment today at Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Also, real quick, caller, I'll be right with you. I want to remind you about our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox. Yes, I'll tell you what. Ramsey Heating and Electric offering rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems. Whether it's a gas furnace, an air conditioner, or a heat pump, you and your family will enjoy the comfort. Call them today at 678-0459. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox, saving you money. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yeah, Zeb, just a little bit ago, I just happened to be sitting there. Well, actually, it doesn't matter. And I had the TV on. And I just had the unfortunate experience of watching the phony commander lay the wreath. And I just kept, the man has no conscience. He's devoid of whatever human things that make up so many other people. One more point. He's never went to the D-Day, when they invaded the mainland of Europe to go to Germany. He's never ever went and done that. He's always had some excuse. There is no excuse for never showing up, not even once after 6 years.
I agree. Randy, I appreciate it, and to all of our veterans, a much of a thank you. Thank you for what they've done to serve our country.
And that's the reason why the VA, we have to be ever diligent to make sure that these people are forced to do their job and take care of these. You know as well as I do that some of the way these poor men and women come back maimed and it is just
it's terrible.
Horrific.
I appreciate your call on this Veterans Day, Randy. Thank you so much. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks to Wheels for helping out over at our station. We've kind of got a little compilation of some of the music for Veterans Day. Wheels, I'm going to let you play a little bit of that, and then I'm going to come back in here. Go ahead as we salute our veterans on this Veterans Day.
Okay.
Thank you, Wheels, and we're going to come back to you in just a moment as we start things off for this half hour in commemoration and celebration of our Veterans Day, and, of course, the history of Veterans Day and World War I. It was known as the time as the Great War, officially ending when the Treaty of Versailles was signed on June 28, 1919, in the Palace of Versailles outside the town of Versailles, France. However, the fighting ceased 7 months earlier when an armistice or temporary cessation of hostilities between the Allied nations and Germany went into effect on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, this being November. For that reason, November 11th, 1918 is generally regarded as the end of the war to end all wars. Wheels, have you got some more music for us on this Veterans Day, please?
Yes, sir, I do.
A salute to the United States Navy and all the veterans of the Navy, and I know many of them here in this area on this Veterans Day. We're going to go back to Wheels on more of that in just a moment. I was sent a letter, and I've got to read this letter to you. I think it's one of the best I've ever read, by Brigitte Gabriel, president of Act Now for America, and her tribute to the veterans, the reserves, and those in active service on Veterans Day. And if you will, please, here's the letter from a very nice lady, Brigitte Gabriel. Words tremble on my lips and emotions swell in my heart in my attempt to humbly thank you for all the things you do to protect America and the world. Words cannot express my depth of gratitude for your service, for your sacrifice, for all that you leave behind to go forth into the world and protect America's interests around the globe. Let my grateful words thank you for the nights you slept freezing in a tent or sweating in the desert, for the lonely days you spent missing your loved ones, for the hours you spent sick in pain and without someone holding your hand, for the moments of sheer fright in the heat of battle, for the wounds you have suffered fighting evil, for the endless days in hospitals undergoing painful surgeries, for the precious occasions you have missed back at home. For all of these sacrifices, I thank you on behalf of millions of Americans who are so grateful for you. We truly appreciate these sacrifices. A special thank you is in order to your families, to the parents who raised you and made you the man or woman you are today. I thank your wives, husbands, and your loved ones who stand by you and support you with their love and dedication. You have served and are serving our brave ones. You are the brave ones, our heroes, and our national treasures. You are the pride of our nation, our strength, and our foundation. Thanks to you, millions have been freed around the world. Thanks to you, those who criticize our country, burn our precious flag, and speak ill of you are able to do so because their freedom is built upon your blood and your sacrifice. I salute you one and all. I bow before you in respect and humility. May God bless you and bless America, land of the free and home of the brave, and the dream that became my address. Always devoted, Brigitte Gabriel, president of Act for America. I've had that lady on my program many, many times. She's going to be scheduled to come back on in the next couple of weeks, and I thank her for her letter about Veterans Day. Wheels, if you would please, more of our music for our veterans. Thank you very much, and we'll have more in just a moment. Wheels, I need you to maybe bump that up a little bit the next time it comes on. Thank you. Veterans Day 2015, and I just absolutely can't thank them enough for what they do. I didn't know this, but I was looking through some of the items that are going on today, and I guess it's become a tradition on the television game show, The Price is Right. Today, being Veterans Day, all the people in the studio audience and those that are going to be up on stage as participants in that game show, The Price is Right, are all from branches of the military. That is today on NBC, The Price is Right. And they've done this for many, many years in honor of our military and our veterans. Wheels, how about another segment, please, for our military? Well, thank you very much, Wheels. I appreciate that. We'll get back to you in just a moment with more of our military anthems. And we have yet to play our Air Force and, let's see, our Marine Corps. And we'll get to that in just a moment. As I mentioned earlier this morning, and I really want to say thanks to these folks because I know these two men very, very well. George Mass served in the United States Navy, as did Larry Cottam, United States Navy. They had a little story about them in the paper this morning. There are so many, and I don't want to mention all these folks by name because I'm so afraid I'm going to miss someone. I couldn't possibly mention all the veterans in this area that have served. But I thought it was very nice that they were selected for a kind of a characterization and a little profile in our paper this morning. George Maas, a dear friend of mine for many, many years. Larry Cottam, another dear friend, and they've done so much for the veterans and also for the POW MIAs. And I salute them along with everyone else on this Veterans Day. Wheels, if you would, please. Thank you, the Marine Corps. Thank you very, very much. And we're going to have the Air Force in just a minute, maybe the Coast Guard also, so stand by for that. Yesterday, we were very blessed to have United States Senator Mike Crapo come onto the program and announce about the Giving Today at various locations around the state of Idaho, the Spirit of Freedom Award that awards and recognizes the service and sacrifice of veterans and volunteers across the state of Idaho. And the Spirit of Freedom Award was created by Crapo 13 years ago to recognize the outstanding service of Idaho veterans as well as the many Idahoans who dedicated extensive volunteer time and service supporting those who have served our country. And, of course, I was really, really honored and so happy. I mean, I was just beaming with pride to think that Russell Smith, our dear friend right here in this area, now residing up in Pocatello at the VA Center, served in the United States Army, served in the United States Army Air Corps, was receiving one of these great awards. The Idaho State Veterans Home in Pocatello nominated Russell for this award for his admirable service to our nation. Russell Smith, who enlisted in the United States Army in 1942, trained in demolition and explosives while stationed in Italy, and was part of the United States force which stormed the beach at Normandy on D-Day. He received many honors for his distinguished service, including receiving 3 Purple Hearts. And April 23rd in Burley, of course, is proclaimed as Russell Smith Day, his birthplace, Burley, Idaho. Congratulations to our hero, Russell Smith. Wheels, if you would, please.
I apologize, sir. I do not have any songs for the Coast Guard.
But what about the Air Force? I'd like to have that on there next.
Okay, I'll find one.
All right, thank you. I would like your calls on this Veterans Day as to what this really means for you. I really salute all these people, and there were quite a few around the state, up in Lewiston, Boise, here in the Twin Falls area, and of course our dear friend Russell Smith being given that award over at the Idaho State Veterans Home in Pocatello, and I certainly do appreciate and respect Senator Mike Crapo for starting that award. Your calls are welcome and appreciated on this Veterans Day, and I'd like to hear your thoughts as we pay tribute to our veterans right here on this program this morning. I noticed that David Brazul, I hope I said his name right, administrator of the Idaho Division of Veteran Services, had an article in the paper this morning, and I cut out and highlighted just a little bit of what he had to say. On Veterans Day, we say thank you to the men and the women who have served and acknowledge their contributions to both the state of Idaho and the United States of America. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I've got to pay some of the bills right now, and I'd like your thoughts on this Veterans Day, as I also remind you about Red's Trading Post, 203 5th Avenue South in Twin Falls. And, of course, Ryan and his entire staff, very, very knowledgeable people since 1936. They've been in the historic Old Town location for Red's Trading Post. And they've got the best of guns. They've got the best of ammo. They've got the best of all the accessories. But they've also got the very best of people working there that can absolutely help you. Red's Trading Post, 203 5th Avenue South in Twin Falls. We're going to have the weather forecast now, and I think that gives you ample time to get over to the telephone and give us a call. And the weather is brought to you by Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service. And the numbers to call, 438-2485 and 431-8733. Trimming, pruning, removal of tree limbs, emergency work, and very important right now as we're getting colder and colder, blowing out those sprinkler systems. Don't let them freeze up, man, then you've got all kinds of trouble. Call Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service today at 438-2485 or 431-8733. And right now, here is the weather with Gina.
Here's a look at your weather for today on this Wednesday, Veterans Day. Mostly sunny. Going to be windy, though, out of the southwest, right around 18 miles an hour. Expect a high of 43 for today. Tonight, low of 29. Tomorrow, partly cloudy. The winds will be dying down. High of 45 with an overnight low of 23. For Friday, mostly sunny and 50. And Saturday, mostly sunny and 53. That's your weather for this Veterans Day on Debit the Rank.
Thank you very much. And brought to you by Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service. 438-2485 or 431-8733. Wheels, did you find the United States Air Force?
Yes, sir, I did.
All right, put it on, my friend, please.
This is the Army, Mr. Jones. No private rooms or telephone. You had your breakfast in bed before, but you won't have it there anymore. This is the Army, Mr. Green.
Well, Wheels, that is not what we were looking for as far as the Air Force anthem. Little bit of egg on our face here this morning, but please try to find the Air Force song, if you would, please. I would really appreciate that, and hopefully we'll have that back in just a few moments. So, once again, calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'd like to hear your thoughts. Come on, you called on a frequent basis in the first hour, and this being Veterans Day, maybe you have a favorite story. Maybe you had a relative that you'd really like to say thank you to. Maybe you've had some kind of an experience in your life as a member of our military serving our country that you'd like to relate. And the floor is open right now for you to give me a call at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give us a call. I'd like to hear from you, please, on this Veterans Day 2015. I've got some public service announcements. Wheels, when you find that, call me and let me know. Let me know on the air, please.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Get to work on that, please. And don't forget the Relay for Life Fall Kickoff is going to be at Morey's Convention Center. It's going to be this Saturday, the 14th, open house starting at 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And you can learn out more about what the Relay for Life is all about. They're getting everything all planned and ready to go for 2016. And this meeting is going to be at Morey's Convention Center this coming Saturday, starting at 10 a.m. and lasting until 2. Another quick note here while we're waiting for some of your calls to come in on this Veterans Day. Central Idaho 4-H Camp is celebrating their golden anniversary, and they're going to have a great big birthday party dinner on Friday, this Friday the 13th, from 6 to 9 at the Jerome County Fairgrounds, and I urge you to get over and celebrate that. And then the biggie, the real biggie, is going to be coming up on the 19th, and And that's, of course, the second annual Pilgrim Pride Dinner at the Golden Heritage Senior Center at 2421 Overland Avenue in Burley. It's going to be on Thursday night, the 19th, 5 p.m. starting time till 7:30 p.m. And boy, the food is going to be tremendous. Tickets are only $10, and the proceeds go to help support the Meals on Wheels. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. Happy Veterans Day to you.
Well, same to you, Bob. What's your thoughts on this Veterans Day?
I'm calling on kind of on a memory thing. Larry Chesley was in the Vietnam deal, and he was a prisoner of war, and he suffered a great deal. And my thoughts are with him today, along with all the other people that I know that did not come back. Larry Chesley came back, but there was a lot of them that didn't. And my thoughts and prayers are with them.
You know, Bob, I also had many of my high school buddies and also some of my college buddies serve over in Vietnam, many of which did not come home. And every time I hear the playing of taps, or for that matter, our national anthem, it brings a tear to my eye in remembrance for what they sacrificed for me to be here literally on the radio today.
And those people that burn the flags and that throw them away and stuff like that, hell, if they don't like it here, go somewhere else if they think it's hell here in the United States.
Well, and you know, the thing that gripes me so bad about that circumstance is that our soldiers, our men and women, put their lives on the line, and many of those lives were taken, so that the freedom of speech and their actions by these punks and these people that do not understand our flag and our history and our heritage, that they can exercise free speech. And if they would just take a moment to try to let something seep into that gray matter between their ears, they would understand the valued sacrifices that have been made for them.
If there's any gray matter between their ears, they wouldn't be in the situation they're trying to do.
I agree.
I served in the Korean conflict, and I'm proud to have been there, and God bless America. Thank you, Zebra. Have a good day, and get that Air Force song out there.
I hope he can find it. Wheels, did you find that yet? Let me know.
No, I'm still trying to.
All right, I'm going to have you sing it if you don't find it. Hurry up. Once again, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, that was a real challenging time of my life. I remember that vividly. Back in the early 60s, Vietnam was really taking a hold of everybody's life. And the newscasts, every night when we got home from school, they were all about Vietnam and what was happening. And then after I graduated from high school, being that I was 4F, I could not serve. But many of my buddies that I played high school sports with, many of them that were classmates, went over to Vietnam. Some did not return. And then, of course, when I went to college, the same circumstance. We developed great friendships in school, at college, and some of them went over to Vietnam. Some returned, but not the way they had left. Some did not return. Today is a great day to acknowledge and thank what our veterans have given for all of us. And if you can't take a minute, maybe to pull off to the side of the road, put it in park, close your eyes, and just think. If you can't take just a minute at your desk to kind of push yourself away from the desk, close your eyes and just think. If you can't take 1 minute out of today to just sit back and think about the sacrifices that have been made for you and your family, I feel sorry for you. The soldiers, the men and the women that have put the uniform on and absolutely have fought and died for this great country, they're worth just that 1 minute remembrance. And I urge you to do that today. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I heard you, Wheels. What have you got?
I do have the Air Force song for you, sir.
All right.
I will play it for you real quick because you do have a caller on.
All right, we'll take the anthem first. Go ahead and play that, Wheels. Thank you. There you go. We had the Navy, the Army, the Marines, and the Air Force, and also a great big salute to those that have served in the United States Coast Guard. Right here, their anthems. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
If I can get through this without crying, because every time I see a military man in uniform in a store, in the parking lot, I like to go up and shake their hand and say thank you, but I'd like to put out a special thank you to a man named Keith Pope. He lives in Burley. He's 90 years old. He joined the Marines right out of high school. He served in the South Seas, and he made it to Okinawa. I'd also like to thank all the military families who sacrifice so much while their loved ones are overseas, or here in the States behind the scenes, making sure that the military who are overseas have what they need. And God bless our military.
Ma'am, thank you so much. I know that it means so much to you, and I appreciate the strength that you showed by calling in. God bless you on this day. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
God bless you. Wow. A lot of feelings out there, strong feelings, on Veterans Day 2015. Got to pay some bills, and then I want to remind you that coming up next hour, I'm honored to have Georgia Greenwell with us, and she has served in our military, and we're going to find out much more about her coming up this next hour. Don't forget Scouts CarQuest Auto and Truck Parts, 3 locations to serve you, Rupert, Hayburn, and Burley, and don't forget every detail matters. Since 1949, great locations serving you and your vehicles. Scouts CarQuest in Rupert at 323 East 8th Street, Highway 25 in Rupert, CarQuest of Burley at 518 Overland in Burley, and of course the big Scows Sterling Truck Center at I-84 exit 211. They've got all the Freightliners, they got the Mahindra tractors, they've got it all for you. Scows CarQuest Auto and Truck Parts. Every detail matters. Well, I appreciate the help of Gina and Wheels over at our station in finding some of those military anthems for us this half hour. And we're not finished because we've got much more to do and commemorate on Veterans Day right here on Zeb at the Ranch. We're going to take a little break here in a moment and send it back over to our CBS affiliate for the headlines at the top of the hour. I want to remind you that you're listening to Zeb at the Ranch. Yes, you are. Make sure you're hearing everything. You contact Mount Harrison Audiology for a hearing screening. Call 312-0957 today. I know Wheels has got another song for us in celebration of Veterans Day. Up to the news from CBS. I'll be back in 6. Oh, we're back on the air, hour number 3. You know, really kind of a funny day outside. Some blue sky, and then all of a sudden somebody upstairs, one of the angels kind of blows his nose or something, and we get clouds coming over again. Oh, my goodness sakes. Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you. And, of course, service is the key word. Along with some of our great advertisers, including Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service us today. Get rid of your garbage. Call 734-6969. Let's take a look at what the special is at the Chadwick Sports Grill today. Oh my goodness, it's going to be spaghetti and meatballs served with garlic toast. Go up and breathe on your neighbor. He'll wilt like a flower. And super salad. Don't forget, that's going to be delicious. I love spaghetti and meatballs. You will too at the Chadwick. They've got great menu choices along with a daily special at the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. You know, I am very, very privileged today to have a lady here in my studio that has served not only one, but two branches of the military. And, boy, with all the people and all the different things going on today, it's really hard to find somebody that can be a spokesman for Veterans Day. Georgia Greenwell, God bless you for taking the time to be here.
Thank you very much, Zeb. I appreciate it.
Oh, no, not as much as me, because, man, this is your day. This is where we really salute you and others for the service to our great United States of America. Before we get into the nuts and bolts of everything going on, what does Veterans Day mean to you?
Veterans Day means that it gives us an opportunity to thank all of those who served before me and other veterans that are out there, because if it wasn't for them who had the pride to join the service, or even, unfortunately, some of them were drafted, but to defend our country and for us to have the freedoms that we have, I wouldn't have been able to be a veteran if it hadn't been for the veterans before me.
Right.
Or we could be speaking a different language if it wasn't for them defending our nation. So
Amen.
That's another reason we definitely need to thank them.
George, let me ask you this question then before we get into the background of how you served and where you served. You mentioned the draft, and I have said for a long time that maybe I'm in favor of seeing the draft come back again, so maybe a lot of the young people, the millennials, would really have an appreciation for what our service and military means.
Well, you have two sides of the coin on that also. The ones who were drafted went and did what they had to do, but if you do that today with the young people, they're going to be worse soldiers or worse airmen or what have you, because they don't want to be there. They'll figure out how to get out of it.
I see.
Is the only other side of the coin.
How do we change that perception?
To me, it starts in the family. It starts from the ground roots. It really does. You know, if they have a family member that's been in the service and they want to know what it's about, they should ask. A lot of times our history gets lost because young people don't think to stop and take a moment to ask their uncles, their grandfathers, or, you know, even their aunts and everything. I met a lady here just 2 weeks ago, Mrs. Setzer. She was a nurse in Rome, Georgia, with the Army Hospital there. And that's how she met her husband, because he was a patient.
Oh, my.
So, it's not just lady veterans now, but it's lady veterans way before us.
You know, what you said, though, is really troubling to me, because I looked at a news story this morning at 3:45 when I got up, and it was about some young people, millennials, 19, 20 years old, running down a street on an eastern city, tearing down the flags off the flagpoles that were put up for this day, Veterans Day, and throwing them in trash containers along with the POW MIA flag. I know they have a First Amendment right. I know they're exercising what they think is their freedom of speech, but I'll be honest with you, I couldn't handle that. If I lived in that neighborhood, I probably would have been arrested.
In saying that, I understand the freedom of right of speech too and actions, but they're unappreciative. They've never been overseas. They've never had to earn anything. They feel that it's a given right to them, or they don't understand it's a privilege to be here.
Absolutely.
In saying that, for me, I've been overseas 2 different times, more than that, but twice in combat zones. And when you come home, there's a huge, huge change in your appreciation in your family, the people that are around you, your friends, and your brothers and sisters in arms. I mean, you will change your outlook on life completely. You know, a new car doesn't mean anything. It's as long as you have a car that runs.
Amen.
So,
Georgia, and I mean this in all respect and honor of you, you look like you're only about out of high school. I mean, my goodness sakes, you've served not once but twice in the Air Force and also the United States Army. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Tell us a little bit about that. What prompted you to want to become a member of the military?
Well, I had 3 different reasons. I love my country. My stepfather was Vietnam veteran Marine Corps, and an opportunity to go to school, get an education. And for me, that was the easiest way to do that, was to join the service, do something I wanted to do. I didn't have to do it like those ones who were drafted.
Right.
But I was there because I wanted to be there.
What were you trying to pursue as a career? Caller, I'll be right there with you. Don't go away.
For a career, I wanted to go to school because no one in my family had gone to college. So that was one of my goals that I really wanted to accomplish.
And I asked you during the break where you were from originally, and you said Kentucky, for heaven's sakes, way across the United States.
Yes, sir.
Oh, my goodness. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zev. I just wanted to call and say good morning to my Georgia Peach. Thank you, Georgia, for your service and for all you do for veterans outside of it after the fact. You've done wonders for me and my family. I very, very much appreciate it.
Oh, well, thank you. Tell you what, go ahead, Georgia, respond.
You're very welcome. I feel that's the least I can do is help out those veterans who are looking for benefits that they earned. It's not a handout. It's something that they earned by serving their country.
All right. Now, you went into the United States Air Force first, correct?
Yes, sir.
And tell us a little bit about it. Was it kind of a culture shock for a little gal from Kentucky?
Absolutely. My first plane ride was from Louisville, Kentucky to San Antonio, Texas to basic training.
And what Air Force base is that? Is that Lackland?
Lackland, yes,
yeah. Okay, I forgot that.
Yeah, so that was my first plane ride. Culture shock, waking up my drill sergeant at 1 a.m. in the morning.
Oh.
And she was about 5'5", redhead, and her last name was Costello. Not a very nice lady when you first meet her at that time in the morning.
Now, tell me a little bit about that, because I'm sure the guys and the gals are going to have similar feelings about waking up in a great big old Quonset hut for the first time, right?
Actually, it was a hard brick building, but it's a bay area. Bay meaning that there's like 20 beds on one side of the bay and 20 beds on the other side of the bay. So it's all open sleep. It's all metal frame beds. They're single, twin beds, and also bunk beds.
Okay, so you wake up at what, 1 o'clock in the morning?
No, actually, that's when I arrived there.
Oh, my.
And I woke up the drill sergeant.
Oh, that's not good.
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
So you didn't get off on what you might say the right foot.
No, I did not. And because I had such a southern accent from Kentucky, my nickname was Kentucky through basic training. My drill sergeant never knew my last name.
Yeah, but did she call you anything else when you woke her up that night?
Oh, yes, but we're not allowed to say those on the air.
Oh, caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Yes, I'd like to say thank you to Georgia for her service to our country, as well as pay tribute to my Uncle Irving, who was General Eisenhower's Jeep driver, and to his brothers that also served during the Second World War and the Korean War.
Oh, my. Lots of history in your family, and thank you for sharing that this morning. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was really nice. A driver for Dwight D. Eisenhower. Is that what she said?
Yes.
My goodness. Well, this is Veterans Day, and as I said earlier, we're very blessed to have a lovely lady, Georgia Greenwell, on the phone, or in the studio, and she's on the phone available to take your questions and responses on the air, 436-2244. Georgia, okay, the first day you get there, it's 1 o'clock in the morning, you woke up the drill sergeant. Did things get any worse or better the next morning?
No, because we were up, and they had woke us up at 5 a.m. downstairs to go downstairs, stand in formation, and we're all in civilian clothes. So we all looked kind of funny because once you've been in the service and you all wear the same uniform and everything else, it has to be all straight. Everybody looks the same. Doesn't matter how tall, how short. But like I said, we all kind of looked funny because none of us had hats on, none of us had uniforms. We were all still just in our civilian clothing.
Did anybody talk to anybody else, or was it just like, I'm going to withdraw into my own little circle, I'm scared to death, I don't know what to do, help me, Lord?
Well, at first we were that way because nobody knew anybody. We were from all over the United States. That's another thing the service is very well known for, is their camaraderie. They don't care, like I said, what color you are, what you look like, how tall you are. They've got a mission, and the mission is you all have to work together to get it done.
What was the first week like for a little gal from Kentucky that had no idea what you were getting into? What was it like that first week?
It was pretty difficult. I think 2 days after we got there, we finally got to make a phone call, but you only had like 3 minutes to say, hi, I'm fine, don't worry about me, I'll send you a letter. That was pretty much all you could say on the phone, because you had 53 other people standing behind you waiting to get on the telephone to talk to their moms.
Now, you mentioned the sergeant, and you didn't get off on the right foot with this lady. Is the gruff exterior all a facade, and really there's a lot of caring and sharing after you've been there for a while?
There is, but it's not towards the last week of your basic training. And the reason being is their ideology is they have to take everything that you know from being a civilian and breaking you completely down to just following orders and
Explain that a little bit. A breaking down process.
It is... I'm trying to think. You think you know everything because you're in high school, you're a senior, you just graduated, and all the other stuff. You're on top of the world.
Yeah.
But you don't. And that's their job, is to say, listen, I don't care who you are, where you come from, what you look like. You join this. You have to start as baby steps. You've got to come down here to the lowest level, and then we'll slowly, as the weeks go through, we'll give you a few more privileges, and we'll let you do a few more things. And by the time you get ready to graduate, you've got your dress uniform. You've got everything all set to ready to go. Then they're sending you to the next phase. Your next phase is your job, what you have joined the service
How
for.
much did you get in selection of that respective job?
I didn't pick one. These days, they will allow some people to pick a job or a position. Only it has to be on their merits of scoring on the ASVAB test, which is the military test to join the service.
Okay.
So for me, I wasn't picky.
You were going to do anything they told you to do?
Absolutely.
Okay, and which was?
My job in the Air Force, I was air cargo and air passenger transportation.
So you were up in the air quite a bit?
No, actually, I was on the ground on the flight line.
Really?
I actually was up, they call us pallet pushers.
Uh-huh.
We would build the pallets, put the plastic and the netting over it, and actually load aircraft. That was my job, was to help get the pallets together and load the aircraft and passengers. See, the Air Force, we did MAC flights, is what they called them. They're space available flights for military people who can ride military aircraft. But we did have in Panama, because that was my first duty station, was Panama.
And nice and cool down there.
Oh yeah. Let's see. I was there from 89 to 91, so I got to be there for the Operation Just Cause and everything. But my job, when I first got there, because it was before the invasion, was to make sure all those civilian people who lived down there with their military spouses got sent back to the United States before everything hit the fan.
Oh, my goodness. I want to go back into the group of gals. You said 53, right?
Yes.
Out of the 53, was there a washout of some that could not abide by the rules and regulations?
Yes, there was. We ended up only having, I believe it was only 33 that graduated.
20 were gone.
Yes.
And what were some of the circumstances?
Some were physical. They had gotten in and possibly found out later once they were in that they had problems with their heart or asthma. I mean, there was just a array of issues on why they couldn't stay in.
But some was attitude?
Some of it was attitude. Some of it was just like, I don't want to be here. I can't handle this, and just whatever else.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That had to be a little disconcerting to you also, to see some of the people that you were standing in line with all of a sudden be gone.
It was, but it wasn't, all in the same aspect, because I wanted to be there. I was like, I'm not going back and saying that I couldn't do it, I guess is the word I want to say.
You had some pride.
Yes, pride and never give up, never surrender attitude. I was like, if, I'm only this tall, but if I can get through this, I know it's going to be better later.
How tall are you?
I'm 5 foot.
Exactly?
5 foot and I think and a half,
barely. And that's the minimum requirement?
Actually, it's 5'1", so I had to have 2 waivers to even get into the Air Force because I only weighed 90 pounds also.
5 feet, 90 pounds from Kentucky, and you weren't about to take a backseat to anybody.
No. So I had to get a 5-pound waiver, an inch waiver to get in. And when I was at the MEPS, which is where they do the processing for you to get into the service, you had to be able to pick up 40 pounds up over your head and set it back down. down.
And?
Well, the gentleman who was getting ready to mark off my little sheet for me, I picked it up and I set it back down, and I said, "How did I do?" And he says, "I can't believe you picked it up." He goes, I was expecting to put a no-go on your little slip because of being able to pick that 40 pounds up over your head.
How much of that was strength, or how much of it was just sheer determination?
I think it was about 50-50 because I was already working as a stock person at Kmart.
Really?
Yeah.
So you were used to that?
Yes.
And the blue light special, you can pick it up and put it up on the shelf, huh? Okay. Now, let me ask you this. You were in the Air Force for how many years?
2 years, 2 months, and 28 days.
Okay, and then you got out and did what?
Well, I met my husband in Panama. My husband's from Idaho.
And his name would be?
Michael Greenwell.
Uh-huh. I know the family. And give us a little background on that.
Well, I met him in Panama, being from two different sides of the United States.
Oh, yeah.
That was the only way I would have met my husband. So I'm very glad I joined the service.
Yeah.
Married for 24 years so far.
Deanna and I are going to have our anniversary tomorrow, 44 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
So I met him there, and we fell in love and got married. They being in the service, him being Army, me being Air Force, are two different
He was in the
branches.
Army.
He was in the Army.
I see.
So they sent me to McCord Air Force Base after Panama, and they sent him to Little Rock, Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
And this was in 91. This is when President Clinton was drawing back down on the military.
Right.
So I went to my first sergeant and explained to him, this is not a good idea to separate my husband and I halfway across the United States.
Absolutely.
And he appreciated my honesty, and for me to come to him and explain my situation to him, and he says, I'll see what I can do. In 30 days, they out-processed me from the Air Force and sent me to Arkansas to be with my husband.
Now, that was being out of the service, though.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
So there you are with your husband in Little Rock, Arkansas, the mecca of the world, with the humidity and all the bugs. And what prompted you then to join the Army?
Well, it was 8 years later.
8 years?
Yes. I was 28 years old when I joined the Army, so I was no spring chicken when they let me keep my rank from the Air Force.
Yeah, but you're still a spring chicken compared to me, a dead duck.
They let me keep my rank. So from being an A1C is what I was when I got out of the Air Force. When I joined the Army in 99, I was a PFC, which is the same thing.
I see.
So like I said, I joined the Army, and 2 kids, cat, dog later. You know, I had already had kids and everything by then.
But why weren't you satisfied just being an Army wife?
Because I did not get to use my GI Bill for college. And so that was one of my goals when I first started the Air Force, was I wanted to go to school. So I joined the Army. I got a couple of college classes in and stuff like that and everything. And I ended up being full-time from 99 to 2001.
Wow.
I became a E5. And then which is a sergeant.
Right.
And then in the next year, in 2002, I became an E6. So
now, what was the difference in the two branches of the service 8 years apart? Going to the Air Force as a teenager from Kentucky, waiting 8 years, and then you're married, and then joining the Army. What was the difference?
The difference in branches of service is what you do. I'll say it that way. In other words, your job-wise and things like that. For me, the Army was more of a family. The Air Force was you go to work, you go home.
Really?
It was like a job, kind
I
of.
see.
And it depends, because if you're, I want to say if you're an MP or security police officer, they have more of a family type, and the firemen have more of a family type because they are watching each other, making sure everybody's safe and stuff like that. So it really kind of depends on the job.
What about Mike? I mean, what's the status of Mike right now? Is he still involved in the military?
No, he retired in 2007.
That's what I thought.
21 and a half years.
21 and a half years.
Paratrooper, jumped out of planes for a living.
There has to be something wrong with that man.
Well, he currently is volunteering with AmeriCorps, and he is helping veterans get jobs here at the Burley Department of Labor office.
God bless him.
Yeah, so he that's why he couldn't be here today. He wanted to come, but he had an appointment at 11 o'clock with a veteran to help him do a resume and look for a new job.
Well, let me ask you, as a paratrooper, I mean, not all that glitters is gold when you're a paratrooper, and there's a lot of hazard there. Did he have any real close circumstances?
He did. Actually, the winds picked up in Panama on one of his jumps and actually blew half of his company into trees. And so he does have an issue with his back because he did land in a tree.
Oh, my.
And then he's had to pull his reserve a couple of times, and that was at Fort Bragg.
Now, that would make me, this old fat man, very, very nervous.
And he does have a jump into Panama. He does have a combat jump into Panama during the invasion and everything.
Oh, my goodness sakes. Now, it must not have been easy being married to Mike while he's doing that, and then also you want to get involved in the military. What happened to you? You didn't stay stateside, did you?
No, sir. No, sir. Well, being in the Army, I was gone for 30 days to Iceland and came back from a rotation on that. And then...
Oh, boy, there's a great place to go, isn't it?
Well, it was June. It was a high of 55 and raining sideways.
What are you complaining about then?
But then, when it came down that I had to go to Iraq, and we sat down, Michael and I talked about it, and then we told the kids about it and everything else.
Now, you had children at that time.
Oh, absolutely. My daughter was in the 4th grade. My son was in the 6th grade.
Ooh, that's
Big
tough.
kids. No little kids. They knew what was going on. They had the tough questions on, why do you have to go, and things like that. So it was definitely a boot on another foot between my husband and I, because he was the one that was normally gone on field exercises or out of the country on rotations or whatever. Not Mom, So
but now he was here at that time then?
He was actually stateside at the time. He was already to the point where he had a few medical issues that he couldn't go overseas, and that's why he was a recruiter for the last couple of years of his career. So
you and your marriage and your family, all of a sudden you get orders to go to Iraq. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
I've got about 2 minutes before we have to take a hard break. Give us that must have been so emotional and so trying on the kids and your husband.
It really was. The nice part was my husband was able to be at home with the kids.
Oh.
Because that tough questions they're going to ask, what's Mom doing, this and that and everything. He was more adept to be able to give an answer to them than I believe someone who had been just a civilian. Does that help?
It certainly does, but I can't imagine how emotional that was on the day you had to leave.
Oh yes, lots of tears.
Oh my goodness, and not knowing really anything about where you were going or what was going to happen.
No, we just knew we were going to Iraq. That's it. There was no hard orders of a town, a FOB, which is a forward operating base, or anywhere exactly until after we got to Kuwait. Once we got to Kuwait, then we got the orders stating that we were going to be in Balad, or the name that the service called it was LSA Anaconda.
Okay.
Was the name of it.
I have so many more questions for you, and you are such a wonderful lady. This is Georgia Greenwell, served in our great United States Air Force and the United States Army, and along with her husband, Mike, Army veteran. This is really interesting, and come back with us in a couple of minutes. We'll have more right after this break.
And now back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Thank you very much, and welcome back. Zeb at the Ranch for our final half hour. I just really do not want to see this hour end. This lady is so interesting to talk to, Georgia Greenwell, and she is a veteran that has served both our United States Air Force and the United States Army. Along with her husband, Mike, that was an Army veteran, I salute them all for what they've done to help our great country, the United States of America. I want to remind you, don't forget Denny's Football Game of the Week. We're going to be telling you tomorrow to call in or send your pick to zebattheranch@hotmail.com. It's going to be the game between Declo and Aberdeen, and the closest to the final score and the right team winning will maybe get you a Grand Slam breakfast at Denny's at 611 Overland in Burley. And by the way, you mentioned earlier you were there for the military breakfast this morning at Denny's. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
It's good food, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
You know, Georgia, there's so many questions in such a short period of time, but okay, you land in Iraq. Mm-hmm. We were talking about that before the break. Now, here's this little gal from Idaho, husband and kids are home, you land in Iraq. what did you expect?
Well, you never know what to expect. I mean, you do a little homework. You study up on the environment, the people, their cultures, and things like that before you go anywheres. I mean, just like any civilian who decides to move overseas or even go to visit, you just do your homework. You just have to look them up and kind of figure out find out as much as you can about it.
When you say that, though, when you get off the plane, I have no idea. I've never been to Iraq. I've been to a lot of countries, but I've never been over in the Middle East like that. Was it a complete culture shock to you?
To a point, yes, because we landed in Kuwait. That was pretty much our staging area because all of our equipment, our vehicles, and our shipping containers that had all of our supplies in it was sent well in advance. It was all shipped over. So when we landed on the ground I was in a C-141, which is just a big green airplane that we were all, I should say, right next to each other all the way around. They call them web seats.
Right.
And it was an 18-hour flight. We stopped in Germany to refuel from out of Bangor, Maine. We flew from Kentucky to Bangor, Maine, from Bangor, Maine to Germany, refueled, and then we went into Kuwait.
Oh, my goodness.
So going that direction, we missed a day.
And I'm sure they had all the amenities on that airplane that you could possibly want.
Oh, yeah. There was a restroom, and you make sure you had a bottle of water with you.
Okay.
But we get there, and it's warm because, it's February when we hit the ground. Well, I should say we left in February. We missed leap year day because flying over there, it changes time zones.
That's right.
So we got there on the 1st of March.
I see.
And it was pretty warm. Like I said, it was like 85 degrees already, and it's March, and we came from where it was snowing. So that was a bit of a change.
What was your duty or job in Iraq?
My job, I was the battalion supply sergeant for a Black Hawk unit.
Oh, my.
Yeah, so when I was stateside, I only had 125 soldiers to take care of. And then when we went overseas, I had 325 soldiers to keep track.
So what does that mean? I'm going to show my naivete here a little bit. What was a day in the life of you over there in Iraq? What did you have to do every day?
Pretty much, my job was a supply sergeant. And if anybody's been in the service, they know what that is. That pretty much is the person who is in charge of issuing out equipment, clothing, pencils, papers, oil, anything that had to do with making sure there was enough supplies for people to do their jobs.
And you're responsible for all that?
Yes.
Okay, and if there's shortages or whatever, somebody higher up is going to come after you, right?
That's correct. So I was probably not the nicest person while I was in the service there.
Now, being in the service over there, and I would assume you weren't exactly out on the front lines, hopefully, where the danger was exposed, or were you?
I was not. I was actually there at LSA Anaconda. The only issues, I guess I should say we had, was from March to December. We had 297 mortar rounds come in on post.
Oh, my.
So we felt more like sitting ducks than actually being out there on the convoys that led, the MPs and all the QRF teams that led people out of post to another post. They were in much more danger than we were from the explosions on their convoys.
Was the targeting not necessarily the soldiers, but maybe the equipment and the supplies?
I believe it was for anything they could hit.
Really?
Because our building that we had for our chow hall was hit more than once.
Really?
We had more than one airframe. Our Black Hawks had been hit at least once. And so that was inwards. The flight line is in the center of the compound, not on the outside. What they would actually do is they'd take a mortar tube, pack it with ice overnight. Now mind you, these can fire about a mile out, if not more.
Mm-hmm.
They would pack it with ice, set the round charger on it, and then when it heated up enough that the ice would melt, then it would go down and hit the pin and then launch. So there was no one there when they went off.
Oh, I see. So there really wasn't any retaliatory response. They weren't there.
That's correct. But
Wow.
we did have roaming patrols around it, around the area and stuff like that. But if you can catch them, you can. If you can't, you can't.
Did you and the Army, did you have basically a hotline to the boys up in the plains to when there was an attack like this to call it in and take it out?
Not my unit itself. I'm sure there was a base one that had one, but we did not. Our main objective over there, as the Blackhawks were there for flying people in and out of areas, and also to do missions for escorting. If we had any like hard fixed wing aircraft that were coming in, the Blackhawks kind of did the escorting for that, and also for convoys. It was a 2.5-day convoy from Kuwait all the way up to Balad, which is just 20 miles north of Baghdad.
Wow.
And so they kept an eye on us while we were doing our convoy up. But yeah, that was pretty much what the Blackhawks were in charge to.
Let me ask you this question, and I know there's a lot of people in the audience that are probably thinking this. Was it really hard being a woman in the military?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's not for the faint of heart, I guess I will say. You have to want to be there. Just like any other job, females always look down, oh, you're just a secretary or what have you. But in the service, they don't care what you look like as long as you're able to do your job and get it done the right way. That's their main objective.
In accordance with that question, and there's a lot of debate going on about this, and I've talked about it on my program, does it put some of our soldiers at a distinct disadvantage if these ladies are also serving on the front lines with the other soldiers?
Absolutely.
So you agree with me then?
Yes, we're all human. And when I say that is a man's got the instinct to protect a woman. That's just the way it is. And if the enemy sees that you've got a female on your team, then they're going to go to they're going to think, oh, if we shoot her and if she's lame or something like that out in the middle of an open area, then the guys are going to try to go over and save her, protect her. And they did it in World War II just with regular soldiers. So yeah, females in a combat area, when I say combat, I'm talking infantry. I'm talking, the ladies that just got through going through Ranger School and graduating.
Yeah, what did you think of that?
Well,
to me, they softened it up.
That's what they've come out with now. They didn't have the exact same standards as the males. And when I say that, if you're going to be on a team, you have to be able to do what everybody else can do on that team.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Bingo.
So softening it up was the wrong idea to do. It downgraded every one of those men who've got that Ranger tab and earned that Ranger tab.
But in this case, though, Georgia, with this administration, Obama, and it seems like they're really pushing to get the women as equals in the military. What are your thoughts about this? It seems like a full court press.
It does. But like I said, they got to meet the standards. That's the thing about the service that I've enjoyed so much is there are standards, there's goals, there's expectations. You either meet it or exceed it. There's no underneath it. That's my way of thinking on it. Like for me to become a staff sergeant, I had to go to school. I had to be able to march troops. I had to be able to go and do field exercises where you had to dig Hastings firing positions and be a squad leader, keeping everybody awake, making sure they're doing their job. That's what it takes to be an NCO. You have to be able to get in the dirt with your soldiers and do exactly the things that you're asking them to do. You have to be able to do it or better than they do.
Did you have any happenings or occurrences to where somebody said, I'm not going to listen to this blonde. She's from Kentucky. She's just a small, diminutive lady. I'm not going to pay attention to her.
I did have a few officers that tried to pull that. But once I sat down and explained to them why they were having to do what I've asked them to do, most of them got along with me,
really?
But not all. Now, my first sergeant was Vietnam Air Combat Patch Cav. He had a Cav patch, and then which is cavalry. He's got the Black Horse patch, and so was my sergeant major. So they weren't real conducive to ladies in the military either.
Kind of the Clint Eastwood type?
Yes. But once I stood up and proved myself to them on other issues, whenever I had a problem with any officer, anybody higher than my rank, I could go to them and explain the situation. And a lot of times it got resolved. It didn't have to go up any further than that.
let's go into this area that our country right now, and you know this far better than I do. But in all the reports and all the people I talk to every day back in Washington, D.C. and New York that are involved with the military, they're very concerned about the cutbacks that are going on for our military. They're very concerned about our soldiers coming back and the VA not giving them everything that was promised. What are your thoughts about what's going on in today's military with this administration?
Honestly, the administration is not on the lower totem pole; it's on the top. When I say that is the veterans who are coming home now are getting a lot more benefits than any of the other veterans across the centuries.
Really?
I mean, I think so. The VA has changed so much in the past 10 years on wanting to help out that veteran, wanting to do what they need to do. Now, I do understand in New York and in the higher populated places, they are having an issue because there's more veterans than there are workers.
Right.
And that's where the biggest problem is that I can see.
But you will admit that there are problems like in Phoenix, Arizona, and other places.
Absolutely, absolutely. We're just very lucky here in Idaho that our veterans have a choice. They can go to Boise or they can go to Salt Lake. They have that choice, and it's not so crowded that they're not able to get appointments.
But are our veterans that come home, I mean, this is a traumatic experience. They've been, you and I were talking about it during the break, they've been basically told what to do, where to go, what to stand, what to fight for, and everything else, and they come home and they've got maybe their families, they've got to find a new job. Are they being treated fairly to get back into civilized society?
They are if they ask. And that is the biggest problem with all veterans, not just the ones who just came home, but all veterans have a sense of pride. And sometimes that pride can get in the way of asking for help, or they feel like it's a handout instead of something that they've earned.
How do you, as a veteran, and I know you help a lot of veterans, how do you go about breaking the egg, if you will, to make sure that they know you're there to help them?
A lot of times, because I do have that facade of being a short blonde female, and some people look at me and are kind of like, well, she doesn't know anything. But once they talk to me and figure out that I've been in the service, I've been in a couple of combat zones, I've been around the world a little bit, their wall drops. You know, their defensive mechanism falls down, and they're like, oh, now that I know she's been in the service, I think I might be able to work with her or talk to her. So.
Have you had cases of success where you really help these people get out of that very isolated shell?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have at least 6, or maybe 7 now, veterans that are younger than me who've been in the service after me. And they've come home and they've got a sense of lost, I guess is the word I want to use. They want to talk to somebody who's been there, done that, worn the T-shirt type of verbiage. You know, they're like, hey, all right, she knows what I'm talking about. That's what they're looking for. They're looking for that camaraderie that they used to have while in the service. And I do know here over in Twin Falls, they actually have quite a few counselors over there, and they've got some mentorship that they're doing for veterans talking to veterans.
Wonderful.
So if anyone's looking for any kind of phone numbers or information about just wanting to talk to another veteran, then they definitely can call my office. My phone number is 208-678-3599, and I would be more than glad to even sit and talk with them on the phone if they live too far away. It's fine with me.
All right. George Greenwell, and we're not finished yet, but I've got to get a weather forecast in here real quick, and the weather's brought to you this hour by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. The number to call, 324-7657. Your hometown meat cutter. They guarantee everything that they sell, and they're changing the way we eat one delicious bite at a time. Here's Gina with the weather.
Your weather for today on this Wednesday, Veterans Day. Mostly sunny. Going to be windy, though, out of the southwest, right around 18 miles an hour. Expect a high of 43 for today. Tonight, low of 29. Tomorrow, partly cloudy. The winds will be dying down. High of 45 with an overnight low of 23 for Friday. Mostly sunny and 50. And Saturday, mostly sunny
50 in November.
That's your weather for this Veterans Day on Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina. Yeah, that's 50 degrees. Sounds really good to me on Saturday. I'm looking forward to that. The weather Weather brought to you this hour by some really good friends. Don Scarrow and the rest of the crew at Scarrow's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. The number to call, 324-7657. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
I'd be amiss if I didn't call in and say thank you to your guest and her husband for their service, and to all the people who have served this country so well, including my 3 brothers, 3 nieces, and a son-in-law and a brother-in-law. I am blessed to be able to live in this country with such great people. Thank you.
Killed man, God bless you, man. I appreciate that. And that was from the heart. I know that man very well. George, we've got limited time left, and I've got 1,000 other questions. But in the military today, I'm sure a lot of people are wondering, as we look at the elections coming up next year, we look at what has been offered through the Obama administration, we look at what might be continued through another third administration, if you will, with Hillary Clinton, and then we look at the possible nominees for president on the GOP side. What is the status of our military right now? Are we weakened because of the last 8 years? Have we been weakened, or are we still the number 1 leader in the world?
For now, I believe we are the number 1 leader, but with the backbone that's been shown on either side of the parties is really tough for the military, because our commander-in-chief is the ones that we're supposed to honor his decision or hers of what we need to do to take care and defend ourselves. But in defending ourselves, we have those countries that we are supposed to be working together with to keep peace all around the world. And that makes it really tough when you draw down on the different branches and the services and things like that. I understand bringing troops home, but we didn't finish the job. And
Amen.
And unfortunately, that's why when we didn't finish the job in Desert Storm the first time, that's why we had to go back the second time.
Absolutely.
And to me, there are other people out there in the world that are trying to make things better, but they have that fear of what's going to happen to them and their families, and that makes it very difficult for them.
Here's a question. I'm sure maybe somebody's asked you this in the past, but I'm going to ask it now because it just crossed my mind. Would you do this all over again?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Why? Because, I want the people that I love and the people that are here in the United States to remain free and have the options and they're being able to make decisions and want to do what they want to do instead of having a dictatorship. I've been in a couple of different countries and they're armpits. And the reason they are an armpit is because of that dictator that says, well, you're going to do this or I'm going to kill your family. We are so lucky and so blessed that we do not have that here. And the only way it's going to be safe is if someone volunteers to stand up and say, no, you're not doing that. I'm going to keep this place safe.
Did you have an opportunity, when you say that about people over in Iraq, etc., did you ever have an opportunity to sit down and just look eye to eye with these people and get honest answers of their fears and their responses to their government?
No, I did not get to do that, but there was quite a few soldiers who did, and I want to thank all of our soldiers and the ones who are helping the locals to learn to be their own police officers or their own military. We had quite a few training that went on over there when I was there, trying to show them, listen, we're going to support you. We will teach you our tactics. We will teach you. And they did the joint missions together, going out into the towns, into homes, and showing them, listen, I'm just like you. I'm one of your own, but I'm trying to keep you safe.
I see.
And they made it really difficult. They really, really did. I'm so proud of those ones who stepped up and said, I want to change it, because that's hard to do after so many years of fear and dictatorship in that country. So.
Let me ask you this final thought here this morning. We're living in a country right now where I think the respect for the flag, the respect for our Constitution, the respect for our soldiers, our military, i.e. yourself, I think has been diminished greatly. What would we do, what could we do to help reestablish a pride in this country?
I believe they need to bring it back into the school systems underneath the government classes that they teach. Teach them the history of the flag and stuff like that and everything. The more you know, the knowledge that you have is just going to make you a better person. It really is. And we're lucky here. When I say here, I mean in this part of the United States, that there is a sense of pride. There's a lot of pride in a lot of the local community people here. And just like you, there's a gentleman that works over in Rupert, and he's like, the path I took was a different one from the service. He says, but I appreciate every veteran that I run into,
This is hard for me because every time I think about it, I lost some dear friends from high school. I lost some very, very dear friends while in college over in Vietnam. And one of the best friends I ever had in my life, he lives in New Jersey right now, and he was over in Vietnam, pardon me. He was over in Vietnam not more than 4 days and was napalmed. And great-looking Italian kid, had a chance to play pro football for the New York Jets, and all of that washed away. And I have nothing but absolute respect for people that have served our military, and I certainly hope it comes back to where our young people come back and understand what the sacrifices were.
I agree. There was I don't know how long ago, but there was a football player, I don't remember what team, but he was a very popular gentleman who joined the service and left the NFL and served in the military.
Arizona Cardinals.
So,
yes.
Anybody can do, if you can't serve, i.e. being health-wise or whatever, there's always things in your community that you can volunteer to help out with any kind of veteran or just your neighbor. That's the other part. I feel that the country's fallen apart just a little bit, too, is they've gotten away from their morals and values.
Oh, amen.
Be a neighbor. It doesn't matter what you look like, doesn't matter your religion. Just go over and check on your neighbor. It's not that hard.
I'm going to have final thoughts from you in just a second. I got to pay my respects to a great major sponsor, and that's our Les Schwab Tire Centers here in the Magic Valley. All your traction tires are ready for you, waiting for you at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Whether it's the traction tires, the studded tires, or if you need the snow wheels, you need tire chains, whatever you need, it's right there at all 7 locations. Need a new battery? Went out to turn on the old car yesterday and it went boom, boom, boom. Not much power. Well, get a brand new battery over there at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Don't forget the best in brake value promise, the best in professionally trained technicians, front end alignment, shocks and struts, all of this. And, of course, as I said, all the tires for you at all 7 locations. Lane in Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike in Buell, Mike in Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. I want to get this in so I don't forget. You've been listening to Zeb at the Ranch. Make sure you're hearing everything. Contact Mount Harrison Audiology for a hearing screening. Call 312-0957 today. I've got about a minute left, Georgia, and if you would please wrap up Veterans Day 2015 with your thoughts about this very special day.
I want to thank all the veterans before me and all the veterans after me to keep our country safe and keep us have our pride and our honor amongst all of us and just be a neighbor.
Would you please come back?
Yes, sir.
And by the way, please tell your husband, Mike, I had him on the program one time, and tell him I said hello, and please, I'd love to have both of you here in the studio sometime.
Absolutely. Thank
God
you.
bless you on Veterans Day. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You have a great one.
A wonderful lady, Georgia Greenwell, both United States Air Force and United States Army on Veterans Day, and that wraps it up for today. We're going to put it in the box, open it up again tomorrow morning at 8:06, and Zeb at the Ranch on KBAR 1230, streaming live on the internet, zebbell.com. And remember, the way things were are the way things ought to be. God bless everybody.